Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome back to all of you joining us for today's conference, Global People Ops Pulse 2024. I'm Anjali, your host for the session. To our fantastic audience, thank you for being there for all of these sessions with us. It's your time, energy, and participation that makes this special. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box or in the chat box as well. We will be having a feedback poll towards the end, so please stay tuned right to the end. This conference is being recorded, so there will be a replay available for you at any time. Now let's get to the heart of today's final session, a truly exciting panel session. So let's welcome V. Lakshmi and Sarika Gupta. Our panelists with their topic today would be Learning Readiness in a Dynamic World, Equipping Tomorrow's Workplace. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Sarika. She is a leader dedicated to transferring the way organizations approach HR. Sarika Gupta is the People Ops Director and an APF Certified People Coach at Culturelligence. She specializes in turning traditional HR practices into highly effective and agile systems, using her expertise in agile methodologies and frameworks to drive continuous improvement and innovation. Sarika is passionate about fostering inclusive workplaces where collaboration, growth, and innovation thrive. Her commitment to staying at the forefront of HR technologies and trends make her a key voice in shaping the future of people ops. And now it's my honor to introduce V. Lakshmi, a true advocate for transforming HR landscape, a visionary who has passion, respect, empathy, and persistence. Lakshmi brings a heart-centered work to her work. She is someone who is at Agile People Ops Learning and Development Organizational Culture. She is a talent acquisition coach, and she is dedicated to helping individuals embark on their learning journeys and reach their full potential. Lakshmi is also the author of the Insight ebook, Humanize the Hiring Experience, available on eBoom Learning. She's also somebody who is an accredited trainer conducting global training courses. Her commitment to creating inclusive and effective workplaces shine through her role as a co-working committee member at Agile People Ops, LLC, and as a research volunteer for the Business Agility Institute, where she is a co-author to Impactful Hiring for Culture white paper. With a flair for culture, Lakshmi has been working on a project at a corrections facility at St. Paul, Minnesota, showcasing her diverse expertise. Please welcome them in joining us today. Today will be a panel session, open panel sessions, and I have a few questions for our speakers. My first question. Yeah. My first question for today. What is learning readiness and why is it essential for today's workplace?
Okay, so there are two parts to this question, right? First is what is learning readiness? So to get an answer to that, how about we read through this quote by Alvin Toffler, where he says that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I hope you all would agree that this really is a very powerful, very meaningful quote in its own way, right? So what is learning readiness? It's all about building that ability to continuously adapt unlearn, and relearn in today's fast, moving world wherein, things keep changing, right? And it's very important to remember, folks, that learning readiness is a mindset. It is something that you really need to nurture, and you have to do that in a very intentional way, right? So coming to the second part of your question, Anjali, that is, why is this essential? Yes, this is only because we all know in our hearts and minds that change is constant, right? Change is inevitable, and so is learning. Okay. So if learning is constant, then what is it that we need to do? And why should we go about taking this step of embracing this mindset? Because change is everywhere, all around us, day in, day out, folks. We experience this change not only within ourselves, right? But also we see the changes in the team dynamics that take place within the organization that we are associated with, the socio-political situation that's out there, and even the climatic situation that's out there. So everywhere this change is happening. And if I have to mention, if we have to say or talk about that Darwinian theory, that survival of the fittest, right? But then if I have to give a little tweak to that, right, it is survival of the most adaptable, right? So if that's the case, who then can adapt to this 21st century? It's obvious, individuals who know how to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So that then brings us to this definition, because that is what defines the learning readiness, right? So it's all about embracing this, nurturing this mindset, right? So that's what this is all about. And having answered that question of yours, Anjali, how about we have our audience participate in a poll? Okay, there is, pardon me. Yeah, so maybe Sarika, we can have that poll launched. I don't know if there's a technology glitch, but then yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, sure, Lakshmi. Thank you. And thank you so much, Anjali, for that modest introduction. And I could see so many people saying hi in the chat box. Hi to everyone from this part of the world. And I'm really excited to be here today with all of you. And here we are with this poll to gather your thoughts on this topic. And you should see this poll popping up on your screen. And please take a moment to select the option that best reflects your opinion and experience. And I would love to see all of you actively engaging in that poll. Right? So here I am opening this poll for all of you. You have 2 minutes to answer this question. Here it is. So we could see the poll, people quickly filling in this poll, Lakshmi.
Yeah, interesting. 40+%. Okay. Okay, I'm happy that there's nobody who has said unsure and below average, Sarika.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, interesting.
Shall I read out the question for all of you again? So how would you rate your own learning readiness, ability to adapt, unlearn, and relearn in today's rapidly changing work environment? And I could see, Lakshmi, people sticking to first 3 options only: excellent, good, and average.
Yeah. And as of now, okay, 66% have voted, and yeah, so it's good. 49% of them are saying good. Okay.
All right, so here I am ending this poll. And the results are like that. Like 49% have voted that they are good. They are generally open to learning. And 39% they have voted excellent. I'm always ready to learn, unlearn, and adapt. And 10% they have voted for an average position. I engage in learning when required. And 2% are unsure, and there is none actually in below average.
Yeah. So for all of you, right, those of you who have gone ahead and voted as 39%, excellent. I'm always ready to learn, unlearn, and adapt. So it's really important that you continue doing that. okay? Because at some point in time, you would go ahead and see to it that this becomes, the learning readiness becomes a second nature of yours, right? You don't have to make that conscious effort. You don't have to put in that intentional effort for that matter. And for those of you who are saying, good, I'm generally open to learning, but find some changes challenging. So, we as the panelists would invite you all, whoever has responded as good, to put on your thinking hat and really ponder, get into that self-awareness mode, folks, or get into that, self-reflection mode as to what are those changes that you find challenging. Are there any specific patterns in these changes? If yes, then what are they, right? Because you are the better person to know your situation, the scenario you are in, right? So get into that reflective mode and start thinking, and also, continue with that thinking hat and say that, okay, if this is how it is, what are some other ways that we can tackle this? Considering that learning readiness is something that is out there, it's very much a fact and we need to embrace that. So how can we make these changes, more interesting? And even if they are challenging, fine, let's navigate through it and let's get going, sail that boat and make it, better off in terms of, growing and developing oneself, right? And for all of those who say average, good that only 10% out there, but then it's like, why is it that you don't always seek it out? Is it because of time management, issue with prioritization, or what is it, right? So again, you all too putting on that self-awareness, self-reflection hats and thinking through this, right? So that's my bit on this poll responses. Sarika, if you think you would like to add something, feel free to do that.
Almost covered everything, Lakshmi.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay.
My second question for you, panelists, here, this is it. How can learning readiness drive a culture of continuous learning and adaptability within organizations?
Okay, so for that, right, what is important to understand is to build a culture of learning readiness, or I would say continuous learning and adaptability. There has to be alignment at 3 levels. The first being the individual level, right? Individual learning readiness. So we have this poll activity, folks, and you all rated yourself on the learning readiness scale, right? So and we had this good amount of conversation too, like, bit of, you can call it as advice or whatever word you would like to put to that, right? So the only thing that can be mentioned here or highlighted is the individual learning readiness. It's the foundation for your personal development, personal growth, and personal agility. And please remember that personal transformation leads to cultural transformation. Okay, this is a quote by thought leaders and practitioners. It's not something, and it's been tested. And it's not that within organization, it's only leaders who have to embark first on that personal transformation journey, but you as an individual too can. Because all of you, irrespective of the title and the position that you bring to the table, you all could be leaders in your own ways. And now is the time to get started, right? So that's about the individual learning readiness. The next level is the team learning readiness, right? So yes, you all might be playing the role of individual contributors in some way or the other, but definitely, you again come together as a team, work as a team, and team learning readiness calls in for that collaborative spirit. How can that collaborative spirit come in? Only when you all are able to understand that sharing knowledge is so very important, right? Practice that continuous knowledge sharing. Work as a team. As a team means a real team in seeing to it that if there are problems, how can we come together and navigate through it and come up with solutions, right? So there is a safe space that has to be out there for the members to share their ideas and then work together. So if that's about the team learning readiness, the third level, or I can say the final, is the organizational learning readiness. Now, it's very important to understand that organizational is made up of a network of teams, right? functional teams or departmental teams, project teams, and everybody. So just imagine when the teams are going ahead and working with enthusiasm, with that collaborative spirit, then a ripple effect can be created at the organizational level. If that is happening, then organization has a commitment towards the workforce in terms of building structured learning pathways or career pathways, right? Ensuring that feedback loops are out there, right? And rewarding the learning behaviors. So when all these three levels, like, individuals strive to grow, teams collaborative spirit, organizations are, commitment towards workforce development, when all the three fuse together, what we get is a learning synergy, right? And this is the mantra for long-term success, innovation, sustainability. And I'm using the word long-term very intentionally, folks, only because you all need to understand that practically this learning synergy is a journey. We say agile is a journey, transformation is a journey, right? Similarly, learning synergy is a journey. Overnight or in a couple of months, we are not going to reach there. Why so? Because here we are working with people. Everybody have their own, behaviors, habits that they bring to, the workplace, right? So how do we navigate that? How do we get acclimatized to each other, still work together, keeping the differences aside, right? Still work with that spirit, right? So this takes some time, right? Because we are humans and to err is human, right? So this synergy is I would say, a process in its own way, and it calls in for persistence, patience, and not giving up very soon, right? So that's what it is. So having said that, Sarika, I invite you to share your inputs about these three levels. Yeah, please.
Yeah, sure, Lakshmi. So just to reiterate to what you have said, and I'll be citing examples for each and every level individually. Like first the individual level, and then we'll touch the team level, and later on we'll come to organization. Just to reiterate, Lakshmi, to what you have said, completely, totally agree with you. Because when employees are curious and open to feedback, and they are willing to take on challenges, they are more likely to learn and grow. That is what we have seen at Culturelligence too. And this positive attitude helps them to develop new skills and adapt quickly to the changes that are happening. It's a dynamic world, right? And let's understand this thing from an example, let's say from Culturelligence itself. Now, why I'm using this example here, so that all of you who are from Culturelligence and those who are even not from Culturelligence can actually see how these principles can be effectively put into practice to bring that collective growth. Now, firstly, talking of the individual level. In our internship programs, we encourage our interns to be curious and take control of their learning. So one example that is coming to my mind right now is from people operations internship related to resume screening and interview. Now, the interns that they join might have got their resumes screened multiple number of times even before joining Culturelligence. And they might even have been interviewed, right? So at Culturelligence, what we do is we teach them how to post a job, how to screen resume, and even how to take interviews. And trust me, as long as we ask them, to screen a resume, it's completely okay with them. But as you ask them to take interviews, some of them, they get jittery. And a lot of doubts pop up, do I need to keep my camera on or off? What questions am I going to ask? And what if I don't have answer to any question candidate has asked me? And so on and so forth, many questions, right? So what we do is we teach them all ways and means to tackle all this. And what they do is they learn how things work in a real world scenario, which equips them for their future roles and boosts their confidence. And they understand what exactly happens when you are in that phase of getting converted from a stage of a candidate to an employee. And during this whole process, they explore new areas, they face challenges, they receive feedbacks from their mentors. And that is how, they keep that learning curve going up. So that's how it is when it comes to individual level, coming on to team level. So when teams work together, as we all know, we have seen that also. They share knowledge, they support one another, they solve problems more effectively and adapt to new situations. Now, another example that I would cite here is that of onboarding process. Again, from Culturelligence, where our new interns, they are made to join our onboarding team. So we have a separate onboarding team for onboarding purpose, which comprises of interns only. And by being a part of that team, the new hire, they get introduced to team culture. And through collaborative learning sessions, they get to share knowledge. They ask questions and they learn from their experienced team members. And this approach actually helps new team members align with team goals and fosters an environment of mutual learning. And as a team, they go ahead, they onboard people, and this whole process itself is a 3-day process. And they ensure the smooth transition of each and every member. So that's how it is. That's how things happen when it comes to team level. Then we come to organization level. Now, organizations, they actually have to promote learning and improvement and encourage everyone in the company to keep growing. This is something which is very, very important. And such organizations that prioritize learning, they help individuals and teams grow, in such a way that matches the company's goals, leading to overall success of the company. And what we do for this is we create communities of practice. We host webinars, we host discussions and knowledge sharing events to encourage learning at all levels, be it an intern level, that is the basic level, or be it a senior people's leader level, or maybe more than that. And this approach actually supports the growth of our employees and ensures that company at least stays adaptable and competitive in this changing environment. So that was all about these 3 levels and how can all these synergize? That is one question that arises. So when we are training interns for resume screening or interviewing, they are collaborating and working as a team for onboarding, and maybe later on, engaging in communities of practice. All these together, enables a seamless flow of knowledge and skill building throughout the organization, thereby creating a synergistic learning environment where continuous learning and adaptability thrive. Anjali, I hope that answers your question. If you have anything more to ask, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that, ma'am. What are the essential behaviors or principles that individuals, teams, and organizations focus on to foster learning readiness?
Okay, sorry, I was on mute, talking on mute. But anyways, okay, to answer to that question lies in understanding what are those golden rules, that individuals, teams, and organizations should embrace to enhance that learning readiness. So at the individual level, right? I mean, Sarika already covered most of it, like saying that, our interns put on that curiosity thing, right? They become curious, they get to learn so many things out there. So you as individuals, be open, right, to new ideas, exploring new ideas, experiences, challenges, and have a clarity on the goals that you would like to achieve. Now, for sure, many of us might not have that clarity, right? So what do? We can go ahead and reach out to our mentors if we have one, or to seasoned professionals, or maybe, if you are at the college level or at the university level, reach out to professors. And in organizations, maybe to managers or mentors or leaders to get that clarity as to what is it, that would be really good, considering that maybe they know you already out there, right? So establishing that clear goals is important. And then next is learning from failures. Please remember that the term fail is first attempt in learning, right? So when you take that first attempt in learning, that is when you fail, that means you have taken that baby step towards becoming resilient, right? So you have to learn from failures. You should not shy away from that, because only a series of failures will reach you out there to become a successful individual. And then seeking feedback, so very important, right? And understanding that, okay, take it in a very, constructive way, that because this is something that would help you as an individual to grow. And finally, already, during that whole activity, we stressed on that self-awareness, self-reflection, and being an observer of oneself, right? That's so very important. So these are some of the golden rules for individuals. Now, coming to the teams, right? Fostering psychological safety. If all of you or most of you would have attended today's first session by Dr. Jonna, right? You might have been introduced to the concept of psychological safety, the stages, and what that is all about, right? So I would not like to deep dive, but just to say that it is all about how a safe space is created for individuals to share their ideas, right? So imagine at the team level, everybody is being respected for giving ideas. Nobody is being rebuked, right? Nobody is being punished for sharing ideas or coming up with innovative solutions, right? And when such an atmosphere is out there where everybody is respected, a collaborative spirit automatically germinates, right? And when that happens, all of the team members come together and start listing out or sharing, okay, how do we go about in learning together as a team? It's not just about, completing those work deliverables, but it is also as a team coming up and saying that, hey, how can we as a team learn together? How can we use that learning, the team learning, and take it to the next level and applying it to our projects or work or elsewhere, right? And Sarika talked about the communities of practices, right? Which we at Culturelligence, it's there, out there. So how do we go about in creating that shared learning, because that is the foundation for building that communities of practices. Encouraging peer feedback, so very important. And again, adapting and evolving as a team, growing together, right? So these are some of the golden rules. And finally, when it comes to the organization, promoting that growth mindset culture, right? Already told you about that structured learning career pathways, so very important. Giving an opportunity for members that, okay, if you have learned something, how about you go and take it to the next level? And what would be that next level? That would be the experimentation, right? Whatever has been learned, let's experiment that. Let's go ahead and see if we can apply it, even if it is to a small project or a small task or a work item. Because only when we apply the learning, right, then only we get to practice, and practice makes people perfect, right? We reach there, okay? So that's so important. And prioritizing feedback, folks. Can organizations start thinking about how can we really introduce feedback as a part and parcel of a day-to-day responsibility, be it at the peer level or at the leaders level, or even if not daily, on a regular basis? Is there possible? And as leaders, how open are we, or how can we go ahead and give a feedback and yet say that, hey, I'm going ahead and giving you a candid feedback and it is just for your own improvement, right? So can leaders go ahead and say that? And how do teams embrace that, right? And finally, giving that recognition to people when they are demonstrating or eliciting those learning behaviors, because that then becomes an opportunity for others to model these learning behaviors. And that's how, a learning organization comes in. So these are some of the golden rules at the individual, team, and organizational level, folks. Sarika, feel free to add your expertise over there.
Yeah, sure, Lakshmi, thank you. Just to help them understand, about this golden rules, what I'll do is I'll just pick up a few rules from each and every category and quote examples. This will help you to understand this thing in a better way. So for individuals to, let's say, cultivate learning readiness. Examples, very simple example, could be a software developer in the tech industry that might stay curious by exploring new programming languages. Or maybe a marketing professional who runs a digital campaign, he will often adapt his strategy based on the data analytics. And after each campaign, what they do is they reflect on which tactics work best. And that allows them, to refine their future strategies. Similarly, yet another example that is coming to my mind right now is that of maybe graphic designer. What he does is he seeks feedback from peers and clients on their latest designs, and they receive constructive critiques which helps them, to improve their designs and skills over a period of time. Similarly, golden rules for teams to practice learning readiness. A very good example is implementation of psychological safety, is that of Google. At Google, they ensure that team members feel comfortable sharing their ideas without the fear of being judged. And if we talk of collaboration, then in automotive sector especially, engineering teams often collaborate actively to design new car models. For instance, uh, people from different departments like designing, engineering, manufacturing, they work closely together to ensure that the new vehicle that they are designing or creating, it meets technical requirements and customer requirements both. Similarly, in teams, so another example could be that of software sector. Agile software development teams. They regularly use retrospectives. Some of you might even aware of that. They do it at the end of each sprint to provide feedback, what went well, what didn't go well, what could be improved. And this feedback loop helps the teams to adjust and enhance their processes in real time. So, you see, examples could be many, but I would really love to see all of you sharing your personal experiences in the chat box so that all of us can learn from each other, right? So please don't shy away in sharing your experiences, your examples here in the chat box, and Anjali can go ahead and read it out for all of us. Now, coming on to golden rules for organizations to foster learning readiness. A very fine example that we can't really miss is that of Satya Nadella from Microsoft. Nadella promoted the idea that being open to learning and adapting is crucial for both individual and company. And he encouraged employees to embrace curiosity and focus on that continuous improvement, which actually shifted the culture of Microsoft from valuing static expertise to valuing ongoing development. And similarly, encouraging experimentation. And real-time example of encouraging experimentation is, again, Google. Google has this 20% policy scheme, and it allows its employees to spend 20% of their work time on side projects that interest them, even if they are not directly related to their main job responsibilities. How exciting, right? And this policy empowers employees to explore new ideas, test out innovative concepts without worrying about failure. And you'll be surprised to know that many successful products like Gmail and Google Maps emerged from this culture of experimentation. And this is how Google fosters innovation and allows creative ideas to flourish. Over to you, Anjali.
Thank you. That was thought-provoking. Thank you. The next question that I have, can you elaborate on how learning readiness prepares individuals to stay adaptable and employable in a rapidly changing world?
Sure. Sorry for that. So let me first talk a little bit about the World Economic Forum research, folks, and then, because that would answer this question that you have posed, Anjali, okay? So we all are currently sailing in what we call as the skills economy era, okay? So what is skills economy? Skills economy is all about focusing on individual skills, the skills that they have, plus those that they need to acquire instead of the traditional, educational certificates or degrees and job titles. And so you can imagine organizations have already started taking that step towards understanding from people as what skills you bring to the table, what cognitive skills or analytical skills or creative skills you bring to the table. And World Economic Forum has done a great, wonderful research, and it's out there in their report, the Future of Jobs report, wherein they say that there are top 10 future skills, which are creative thinking, analytical thinking, technological literacy, curiosity and lifelong learning, resilience, agility, and then motivation and self-awareness, and a lot more. Okay, the list goes on, but these are some of that, out of those top 10, these are some that I have mentioned. So you can just, imagine that creative thinking, analytical thinking, all of this definitely would require that learning ready mindset, okay? Because as we discussed earlier, as we mentioned earlier, that when you have that learning ready mindset, you are open to explore new ideas. You are evoking the creativity in you, right? So it's all about that creative thinking. And as you keep learning, unlearning, and relearning, you reach that point where you're able to analyze, put on that analytical thinking hat of yours and start looking into how you can go ahead and break this complex problem into a, simple way so that solutions can be deciphered, right? Similarly, when it comes to technological literacy, you all would agree that we all have to go ahead and, be tool savvy or system savvy a big time. Okay, we have to work with these. And only with a learning readiness mindset can we go ahead and explore these tools, these platforms, different, maybe, people who are in the software development side or the information technology side, machine learning, big data, AI, and all of that is there. So if we don't have this mindset, right, how would we take that next step to go ahead and educate ourselves or build that knowledge and put that knowledge into practice, right? So in a nutshell, if I have to say, it's so very important that this learning readiness mindset, it really helps individuals to build those skills that will really make them future ready. We call those as the employability skills, right? Because World Economic Forum, even thought leaders and practitioners are talking about these skills. And they also have said that by 2027, 44% of the workers' core skills are going to get disrupted, folks. So if the data is out there, the research is out there, so if we don't embrace the learning readiness now, then when would that time be, right? Hope that answers the question, Anjali. And Sarika, if you would like to bring in an example, that would be really wonderful for the audience.
Yes, yeah, sure, Lakshmi, thanks. And I would like to add just a few words over here. See, it's very important that we focus on helping professionals develop valuable skills. And we go beyond just theoretically teaching creative thinking, analytical skills, and technology know-how. What we should do is we should offer practical hands-on experience in areas allowing employees to apply what they have learned in real-world situations. And I'm really glad to say here that we walk the talk at Culturelligence. And by aligning learning with skills needed in this space, especially in the field of people operations, we aim to help individuals become adaptable and ready for the changing job market. And I'm sure this approach helps them, to grow into confident, capable professionals. That's all from my end. Thanks. Thanks, Anjali.
Yeah, learning readiness. That's the key word there, I think. The next question and the last one. What role does leadership play in fostering learning readiness at all levels?
Okay. Sarika already talked through this in her examples. I will just build on that, okay? So leaders, yes, they set the tone and the conditions for creating this learning readiness culture, right? So Sarika again talked about Satya Nadella, okay? Like he literally, leaders need to walk the talk, as she said. 100% I agree, right? Because only when we as leaders walk the talk, our team members or followers, right, they start modeling the leadership behaviors. And then that's where that synergy gets created. And Satya Nadella at Microsoft did exactly the same thing. He got inspired by Carol Dweck's, growth mindset, and he went ahead and started practicing that. Even though he was a CEO, he started going ahead and practicing that. And seeing him practicing that, the senior executive and others, followed his footsteps. And again, their team members followed the footsteps of senior executives, right? So again, there is this virtuous circle that got created within Microsoft. And over a period of time, the growth mindset became a part and parcel of Microsoft's culture, right? And why was that possible? Only because of Satya Nadella's, walk the talk, or that leadership behavior, eliciting those behaviors, right? The second is creating that safe psychological space. It's all about how we encourage our team members to experiment their ideas and fail. That's okay, but they are learning, right? And then encouraging the feedback part, which we have talked at length, even through examples and even while explaining this concept part, right? So all of these are so very important, for the leaders to start at their own end, because they are the change agents in their own way. If they have to, help the team embrace this learning readiness, they first have to do that, right? So that's how it is. It's all about walking the talk, creating that psychological safe environment, encouraging feedback, giving feedback in a constructive way, and being there, like being that servant, human-centered leadership, if I have to use that, key term out there. That's what it takes, or that's how, over a period of time, we see that learning synergy, being created. So yeah, that's what, hope that again answers your question.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so great. So maybe, Sarika, we can launch the last poll, and let's see what audience have to say about it.
Sure, Lakshmi. So we have one more question. That is the last poll question for all of you. It will be open for 2 minutes. Again, for 2 minutes, you have 2 minutes to answer this question. I'm launching this poll here. You could all see that being popped up on your screens. The question is, how effectively does your organization encourage a culture of experimentation and innovation among employees? I could see people have already started answering, so right. Glad to see that participation is now 71% for this poll election. Increased on to 73.
Yes. Great, Sarika. Yeah. And interesting, this time we have responses all over, I would say. But definitely it is something that that has to be pondered upon, especially for those who say somewhat effective and neutral, and not very effective and again unsure.
I'm ending the poll here. I'm sharing the results with all of you. So 37% have voted it as highly effective, that they are encouraged to try out new ideas. 34% somewhat effective, new ideas are welcome. Then we have 15%, they voted it as neutral. Experimentation is allowed, but not actively. Then not very effective, it has been voted by 12% people, and 2% they are unsure as to how experimentation is being supported in their organization.
Okay. So the instant thought that comes to my mind is that, if the folks over here, whoever has responded, if you are at, not at a leadership level, okay, the only thing that comes to my mind right now, as I said, is not to get disheartened that, okay, and say that, oh, okay, the organization is not supporting, what do we do? Let's not have that attitude or that approach. It's all about, okay, if I'm working within a team and there are some, improvements can be done, some new ideas can be done, is my team supportive? And can I be the change champion over here and take that first step towards, experimenting with something? So the thought process for you all should be that instead of always waiting for an organization or waiting for the leaders to take the move, yes, they have to do eventually, but then going ahead and saying that let them make the first move, that should not be the case. You as an individual, we have talked about individual learning readiness. What is it? How can you move that needle is something that, I would like you all to, I would like to leave that question in, that seed of thought or that question in your mind before we close this panel discussion, folks. Sarika, feel free to add.
Sure. So even I have something to say for those who are unsure as to whether the experimentation is being supported by their organizations or not. It's you who have to take the first step, right? Sometimes we don't gather that courage and go up and say, approach our seniors with a new idea or a new, experimentation. Just go ahead, gather that courage, go ahead, approach your seniors and share that idea. What will happen, at most what will happen? They would say no. That is all right. Be prepared for that no, but at least you have approached them, right? That is the first step that you have taken, not for the organization, at least for yourself, right? Whatever you had on your mind, you tried to reach out to people and try to get that idea implemented. And that is very important. Right. So do we have any questions on this? Or maybe anything that is coming to your mind regarding this learning readiness? Or anything, whatever has been discussed today?
Participants, please feel free to put in your questions in the Q&A section.
And one more thing I would like to add here, see, even if there is nothing, coming to your mind right now, but later on you come up with certain questions, please feel free to reach out to both of us, Lakshmi and myself, and we'll be more than happy to answer your questions. We'll be sharing our QR code for our LinkedIn profiles. Please feel free to go ahead and connect with both of us and drop in whatever you have on your mind or you want us to explain, or maybe you are seeking some kind of help or guidance. Lakshmi and I will be more than happy to do that for all of you.
Thank you so much, panelists, for answering those questions so beautifully for us.
Thanks, Anjali.
Participants, on your screens, you'll be able to see the LinkedIn profiles and the emails, the addresses, the QR codes as well of our panelists here. Please feel free to connect to them. Before we wrap up, let's remember to tune in tomorrow. Tomorrow will be the last day of this conference. And a big shout out to all our incredible speakers here today. We'll see you same place, same time tomorrow. There'll be a feedback poll to be filled in. Please stay back for that. Thank you. This ends our session today.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Anjali.
Thank you.